Okay, so my studio is a little chaotic right now because I'm in the process of fixing it up for some changes here. But basically, Plasterite is a version of what people are calling organite, which is reputed to have certain healing capabilities. Personally, I'm a very sensitive person, and I do feel an effect from it, but that's not the main reason I'm using it. Main reason I'm using it is because, like I said, it takes the paint better, and I find that the Plasterite actually holds up a little bit better than plain plaster. So I got a little bit of plaster here, about a cup worth. I've got some beach sand. I always do this sort of intuitively, or however I feel right. Usually a couple of shots of sand. Sometimes I put in some Dolomite, just because I like the feel of the final product with it. If I have it, it's not necessary. And I've got key shavings. Where are my key shavings? Oh, there they are. Okay. That I get from a local hardware store. I just have them save it for me. They know that I paint rocks and that I make my own with it. And they would only be throwing them out anyway, so a little bit of that. And a little shot of Himalayan Rock Salt. Not too much. No more than a half a teaspoon for a pour this size, because if you put too much in, the salt will leach out into your final painted piece, and you don't want that. Now at this point you have to work really fast, because the plaster of Paris will set probably within about 5-10 minutes if you're not too careful. And if it's too thin, or if it's too thick, you can either add more water if it's too thick, or add more plaster if it's too thin. You want it to have the consistency of really heavy cream. I find that works best. And I have these kind of throwaway tools to work with. And just going to readjust the setting on the camera here, so it is down there at the bottom, so that you can actually see maybe what's going on with one of these molds. So we're going to do a bigger one. I'm not going to do the biggest one there. I'm going to do a bigger one here, and hopefully you can see it going in. I don't worry about getting every little lump out. Not that fussy. You want to make sure you don't overfill it, because then what happens is you end up with a large lip around it that's really hard to remove, and you don't want that either. Now, like I said earlier, rocks aren't the only things I mold out of Plasterite. I happen to need a coaster right now, so I'm going to do one of these as well. And you just want to shake it around so you get as many bubbles out of it as you can, and get a nice flat finish for the piece. Now these will take about a half an hour to fully set. They won't be fully cured for 24 hours, but they'll be set enough to handle within 15-20 minutes, half an hour. And then once you have them out of the mold, they look kind of like this. And what I do is, this one I've already done it, but just to give you a basic idea, is I just trim the lip with a little X-Acto knife. You want to do that while they're still fairly damp within that first half an hour if you can. This one's been sitting around for a long time, so it's really, really hard. And so it's harder to do the finishing there if you want. You can also make little stamps if you want to for these. Don't think I have any. I'm no longer using them. I decided that they were just too much hassle. But I had one made up with my initial J on it, and I would just pop it in there and let it dry, and it would, it would be my signature. You can do that as well. This material is really, really versatile. It's really handy. And if you get tired of a mold, or if it breaks or something, you can just cut it into little tiny pieces and use it on new pieces to give them a little bit better body and strength. And that's pretty much it. After that, you just paint them like any other rock you would.